Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gotham City. I'm your host, Levy Rozman. This is a podcast where I talk to people who live in the chess world on the 64 squares and at times beyond them. But in this episode, we are staying within the chess world, and we are speaking with international master Greg Shahade. Not only is he an international master, he is also the pioneer of a lot of things that you may know in the world of chess, like the Pro Chess League or the US Chess School. He is a lifelong learner. He has recently revamped a lot of his opening repertoire. We talk about that. We talk about getting into trivia as well. We talk about his OG status as a chess YouTuber before it was popular, and a whole lot more. I hope you enjoy. I feel like we can start the podcast episode with exactly that. So I've started rolling, and I asked you about how do you feel about being in following the episode with David Howell in it, and you said David Howell's a good guy, but he's friends with Lawrence Trent. So Greg, I have a question. Why are you not fighting Lawrence Trent? And for anybody,
I have a lot of things to say, but let's go back to David Howell. I think David Howell's a great guy. Before we go to the negative, I want to talk about some positive things.
Okay.
I love the way he's just always positive. He's a great commentator, always has nice things to say about people. But then the question about Lawrence, why am I not fighting Lawrence?
Yeah. How did that happen?
Like, listen, I was approached about potentially fighting Lawrence, but I mean, in my mind, this would be like the match of the century, and everybody wants to see Lawrence get just like punished, like knocked out, right? And I was like, I feel like I have to start demanding like Floyd Mayweather type money for that, and
Right.
It didn't seem like it was quite there. So yeah, one day I would love to do that, but it's not something I could do for free. I mean, that's going to be like the biggest chess boxing match in chess history.
You think you would do better than Magnus versus Hikaru?
But yeah, for sure.
Wow. See, I was going to say me versus Rosen would also be up there, so I don't know. I feel like those are the big three.
Yeah, but only one match is going to have somebody crying. Yeah.
It's going to be me versus Eric, or
no.
Wow. How did this rivalry start? Because you guys were talking some trash during the I Am Not a GM Speed Chess Championship. How deep does this go? Because you're a little bit older than Lawrence, right? Isn't Lawrence?
Hey, here's what's funny. I never even met the guy, right?
Really?
And no. Well, actually, I have met him in person, but like we didn't like exchange names or anything. We actually played a few Blitz games like 12 years ago in London he didn't even know who I was. I won, of course. But like I just remember hearing like talk through the grapevine that like he wanted to play me for a lot of money. I'm like, why does he want to play? Like, he doesn't even know me. Like, why is he like talking trash about me? It was like so weird. That's like demented. That's like, why me? What is it about him? A guy he's never met that he's like obsessed with playing. And so at some point, these words and these rumors kept like growing and growing, and finally somebody put us together. We had a few matches on Twitch. I won, of course.
And this was before the chess.com thing, or was that?
Yeah, this is before the chess.com one.
Got you.
I don't want to talk about the last one so much.
No,
I can talk about it, but I already explained like what happened in that match many times.
What happened in that match? Did you just think you were gonna win? Is that
of course. Okay, of course. I mean, like, I just woke up. I'm like, listen, I'm tired. I slept terrible. I haven't prepared at all. But like, I'm playing Lawrence, so whatever. But the second thing was that I made it very clear. Like, Lawrence is like an interesting character, right? Like he kind of chirps a lot. People kind of like hating him or something. And if I just beat him every time, some people just get bored of him. Like if I win 3-0.
I see.
So there was a part of me in the back of my head that's like, it won't be that bad if he wins. Oh, and also it would have crushed his soul if he lost the third time.
That's why I let Eric win our match. I was, that's why.
You were ahead 2-0?
I was ahead in the match. I was ahead every match we had played up until that point. I always won by a game or two, but that match.
I feel like every match you play is like the closest match ever.
Yeah, and it always has the same story. I get red hot early, And then I start getting confident or nervous or a mix of the two. And then he gets back into the match because he's strong mentally and I'm not. So when he makes a comeback, no, I'm not strong mentally at all.
Hold on.
But
no, but this is problematic because our match, I was ahead. And then you came back at the end.
Yeah.
So does that mean I'm weaker mentally than you?
No, I got lucky. Also, I think I'm better at bullet. You don't play you don't play garbage time controls like bullet. So.
I am bad at bullet. But
we can talk about that. I wanted to ask you. Obviously, I asked Sam Shanklin this because Sam prepared a lot of young players when he was preparing for me. You and I, we've never played over the board. We've barely played online. But like when you were preparing for me, and I'll share my experiences too. What were your thoughts? Good and bad. You could be as honest as you want. That's the whole point of the show.
Well, I mean, I just prepared for specific openings. Like with black, I had planned many different things against e4. And you saw them. I planned like you seem to be very narrow in your choices, and they were often very like strange. Like in the Alekhine, you play like some a4 rook a3 thing, and the Scandinavian, I forget exactly what you played. Maybe you played like a sacrifice very early or something.
Oh yeah,
I know I played a Scandi against you. I know you played the Vienna, right, against e4e5.
Love me some good some Vienna.
Yeah, so I just like really like I came up with like 4 different moves against e4, like studied them pretty deep, and I was just like I was going to rotate between them. But then you kind of hit me with more d4 stuff in a lot of games, especially in the bullet section, and it was a little harder for me there because I didn't have many like the line I played against you. I thought it was like pretty good for black, but it gives white a nice initiative, and it was tough to play, especially in bullet.
Yeah, when preparing for you, I noticed you have the worst playing style for me to play against. I'm not saying you have the worst playing style overall. Your playing style is good, but for me to play against, it's really annoying because you know your openings really well, and there's no poking and prodding at random crap to get you out of your comfort zone. So if I wanted to get you out of your comfort zone, I'd have to settle for a bad position, which is why I played Jobava London, or I mean, God knows what.
I think the Jobava London's pretty solid though, especially in blitz.
Yeah, for blitz, for sure.
You were getting good positions in a lot of games. I had to like fight back.
Yeah, for blitz, yes. For 90-minute chess, no. You have a very, we could send you off to Reykjavik Open or Gibraltar or the candidates, and you would excel. I'm curious, by the way, how did you start? Did you play e4e5 your whole life? Did you play Grunfeld your whole life? You really do have like just a fully professional repertoire.
During the pandemic, okay, actually, it's the total opposite of what you're saying. Like my whole career, I played openings that weren't really that good. I was like playing the Dragon, Accelerated Dragon, kind of like avoiding main lines, and then I would take a few years off chess constantly, right? I wouldn't play that much, and I would try to play in like little fun tournaments because I have some chess skill, but like my openings just sucked, and it was bothering me. And so during the pandemic, I was like, and then we got Chessable, right? This new tool that like helps you to learn openings that didn't exist before, and Chessable is a tool that really works well with my learning style. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to make use of this time just stuck inside. I'm going to learn a serious repertoire. I'm going to play e4, e5. My plan is to never change that. Just play it for the rest of my life because I know that it's solid. I know that there's no problem with it. It's not like the Accelerated Dragon where like you're slightly worse every game. And then I'm going to play the Grunfeld. I'm going to play e4. I'm going to learn the Roy Lopez. I'm going to learn all like the main stuff. And the idea is that inevitably I'm going to take more time off chess. Like I haven't studied at all in the last year, but my opening repertoire is still solid, and it's always going to be. The Grunfeld's always going to be good. E4, E5 is always going to be good. So that's basically what happened.
You enjoy the drills in Chessable, like the move trainer and the repetition and that learning style? I could never.
I mean, it helps me to remember things.
Okay.
So
I have I think I have if you sampled a lot of title players, you would probably get more answers on my side. But I first of all, I can't bring myself to drill the same line like 20 times, 30 times. I have to have the PGN. Like I have to read through it myself, and then I'm very bad at holding myself accountable to a technology that will force me to drill things and remember things. And I think it's probably just an attention span thing. But
I mean, I edited the format a little bit within Chessable, so it wasn't drilling me that often.
Okay.
Like I think if you don't edit it, it's going to drill you so much that like your brain will just explode. But there would be some openings where I'd get to the point where I wouldn't get tested on it for like 4 to 6 months, and that combined with playing a lot of blitz, you would kind of just start to know things.
Did you notice that after you started getting these main lines under your belt, that playing against super strong GMs was much easier than it used to be?
Psychologically, it's nice to know that no matter who you're playing, you're not like going to be automatically worse.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm playing Fabiano, right? Like, I would be black against him, and we played a game, and I'm just like, fine. I know I'm fine out of the opening, and it's like, okay, maybe he's going to outplay me, but like, it's not the opening's fault. You know what I mean? And that's like a nice psychological advantage, I think. Whereas instead of going into each game knowing that you're going to probably get a bad position in the opening,
right?
You don't. Is the old style for me.
You also don't need to worry about if you get surprised by something you don't know, that it's potentially some crazy, brilliant attacking idea. It might just be some very nuanced move, right? Still equal. You just have to figure it out.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. Usually I'm not just lost in the opening. I will admit that my openings have gotten weaker after the last year because I've kind of stopped studying. But there's still like a good framework, you know.
Why'd you stop studying? What have you been doing for the past year?
Just other things.
And chess
is hard. Well, I've been learning trivia a lot in the last year, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I just suddenly got into it one day, like a year ago, and I've been like just filling my brain with information.
I read that on your blog, because I know you have a blog, and the very first post, I was like, am I on the right blog? Because it was not chess. Because you do, I know you as chess, poker, CrossFit, and you're just generally involved in chess in a variety of different ways. I don't know as much about your poker endeavors. I'm a poker fan. I check in here and there, but I don't know as much about that. Yeah. So how did the trivia thing happen? So you just know a lot of shit now. Is that right?
I mean, I have gotten a lot better in the last year. I don't know how to exactly describe how strong I am. It's unclear, but like I'm pretty decent for sure. I guess what happened was about a year ago, some friends of mine, they're in this trivia league online called Learned League, and they're like, hey, you should join. It's even if you suck and don't know anything, it's still fun, I promise. It's like they ask you about like a range of different things. And I'm like, okay, I was complaining to them, I just don't like trivia, man. But like, whatever, it'll be a fun thing to do with people. And the format of the league is actually pretty cool, so I like that. And then I did it and I sucked. I got like a third of the question. I got less than a third of the questions right, like 28% or something.
That makes it, wow, that's still impressive, because I feel like I would have gotten 1 out of 10.
No, it was like 150 questions you have for the season, and I got like 44 right the first time around. Okay. And I don't know what's happened. I just started to I was like, I'm kind of curious about a few things. I started to learn a few things. I was like, oh, it's cool knowing stuff. And then I just became a machine where I would just study hours every day. And I've been doing that for like a year now, a little over a year. Wow. So I've gotten to the point where I'm getting like 100 out of 150 in the seasons now instead of 40.
Is that just for fun, or is there money involved?
Nah, it's not really much money.
No, but what if you go? What about like game shows? Have you done game shows?
Sure, but like, yeah, okay, but like that's a silly thing to count on, right? Like you shouldn't be counting on, I'm going to get on Jeopardy and just win 20 games in a row, right? Because number one, it's very hard to get on. Like it's no matter how good you are, it's kind of random. Number two, like everyone on the show is pretty good, so even if I'm better than them, they might just beat me and I get like nothing. But yeah, like technically there's like an outside chance that you could make a lot of money, but it's not something that you should count on. It's just, I like it. It's fun. It's an interesting thing to me. And I like to be knowledgeable about various subjects.
Has it helped in just regular conversation? Has it come up in any way?
Sometimes. It's nice to like know stuff about art and history and literature, all kinds of stuff like that.
It's what traditionally I feel like chess players are lacking about the world, right? I feel like we don't know a whole lot about much.
Maybe. But yeah, it's been a cool new thing where like I can actually converse with people who are like into art. Or I'd be like, in the past, I'd be like, I don't know anything about that, you know, and you just kind of talk about something else.
How have you learned? Is there just trivia guides, or you have to read more generally?
No, I kind of do my own work. I make a lot of I've made 45,000 flashcards since like July 2021, I think.
Wow.
I just kind of hand make. I copy paste like questions, and then I like put the answer on, and I sometimes do research about the answer, so like I have more of a deeper understanding about it.
I feel like with this work ethic, you could have been a Nobel Prize winner. Is that in some field? No?
Well, first of all, I didn't have this work ethic when I was younger.
Okay.
I've gotten better at learning how to learn things.
Did anything
But yeah,
inspire you to get better at learning how to learn things, or you just got more mature?
oh,
Or
honestly, learning about space repetition is kind of helpful. Chessable is one great example of that, but just the space repetition idea of learning as a whole, it just works. Like you don't have to think about it. And do you understand what space repetition is?
Vaguely. If you would explain it to me, it would
All
be
right,
useful.
I'll explain. It's basically like let's say there's some trivia question, right?
Yeah.
That you want to know, or chess opening. And let's say you get quizzed on it, you get it correctly. You get it correct.
Mm-hmm.
So then let's say you then will see it again in like 2 days. You'll be quizzed on it again. If you get it correct that time, then maybe you'll be quizzed on it again in 6 days. And then if you get it right, maybe in 20 days, then in 80 days. It's like every time you get it right, it's a sign that you have it. It's kind of like more kind of basic information to you. There's like, you just know this cold. And so then it won't quiz you on it for a longer amount of time. And then the things that you don't know as well, like every time you get it wrong, it's going to like kind of make you see it more often.
Okay.
So it's kind of this thing that it automatically knows what your weaknesses are, and it just kind of like shoots those back at you. I don't know if that makes the most sense.
That makes perfect sense, but it sounds like it would work better with some sort of AI, right? Like a computer tracking.
Well,
all this.
I have a flashcard, program on my phone that it automatically does that. There's a few of them now that do that kind of work. What's actually funny is I used to do that for chess openings before Chessable. I don't know if anyone else did, but I used to use one of these flashcard systems, but it's so much better now that Chessable has the kind of like built-in software for it.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting paid, by the way? I feel like there have been
no, but I mean, like we're asking about learning and trivia, and like it's just the thing I do to learn things.
I know. I know it's definitely transformed the way people learn chess specifically, and it's actually been really annoying because I have to play 11-year-olds who spend more time on Chessable than anything else.
Yeah, they know things now, right?
They just, literally. I'm sure you are aware of this phenomenon. Back in the day, you could just get a position after 10 moves and just outplay anybody, and now they're better at tactics, dynamics, everything.
Kids are tough.
Yep. It's interesting how you brought up the trivia side of it, though, that you don't necessarily have to learn chess via space repetition. I was going to ask you if being on Jeopardy was the type of learning that you're doing, or if it's a memory bank. Do you know?
All right, say that again. So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
So if you're taking the approach that you're currently taking, which is just learning a bunch of different facts about a variety of different subjects, when you apply to be on Jeopardy, do they have a test bank of just thousands of questions?
There is. They give you a 50-question test.
Okay. Oh, ahead of time.
Yeah, you can take it online. And if you get a certain number correct, you're like in some pool of people, they might like randomly select to take another test, right? So like I took the test a few months ago. I'm certain I passed. I got like, I don't know, 44 out of 50 correct. And I think you only need like 35. But, most of the time, most of the people who pass that test are not going to get invited. I think because they only have like 300, 400 new contestants a year, and it's kind of like random who they select. But either way, it's probably better if it's a few years from now, because I'm just getting better all the time.
Yes.
Because, when you first start something, you improve very quickly, and that's been happening.
Yes. But it's been a year. right? So you still feel you're improving super fast and
different speed, like not, it's like it's up, and then it kind of like flattens out, but it continues to go up.
right.
But like a year it's funny, the difference between trivia and chess. A year in chess is like nothing, right? Like there's no way to be like one of the top even 30% of chess players in the world after 1 year. But in something like trivia, I think it's pretty easy to get like top 15, 10%. Easy is a strong word, but I feel like I'm there after 1 year.
Wow. Is it mostly just a matter of how would you quantify that? Is it just a matter of the learning curve being slightly different? Like if there's no physical demand, for example, if I did a year of CrossFit, I would never get to top 10%. And I was going to ask you about CrossFit.
You never know. You never know.
I don't know. But
I think chess there's more skill, and it's less about memorizing things. Like you have to have this kind of skill that takes it just takes time.
Yeah.
Like it's not like if you know this thing, you're just going to beat other people. It's just not how it works in chess. It's kind of like a language, right? A little bit.
Yeah, chess is weird. Chess is a very unique endeavor, and I don't exactly know how to even answer questions about it when I get asked them. So I'm just throwing it to you now on this episode, so you can like people ask me all the time, if I'm X years old and I'm brand new to the game, can I be this rating by this? I'm sure you get these questions too. You've been at
some. I mean, yeah, it depends on the rating that they want and the amount of time that they want.
Yeah, and how much they like existing just as a regular human being and not a sponge of chess. It's a weird mix. I don't exactly know what it is. Like what makes a talented kid in chess? Right? You've taught a lot of kids.
Like, I don't even know why I was good, right? Like, I mean, a lot of it's got to be luck, right? Like, of course, I had a good environment, my family and dad and my sister, but
right? There's no, we don't know. I've tried to answer, like maybe it's because of just spatial. You have good spatial visualization. You can see how all the pieces sort of interact, but I don't know. I don't have an answer. And
yeah, I feel very fortunate to be as good as I am. Because it could easily not be that way.
But are you older or younger than Jennifer? You're older.
2 years older.
2 years older. But that's like a really good age difference, right? Because weren't you kind of like sparring partners and?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, she actually started a lot later than me. So like she was kind of like for a lot of time, she was just kind of like hanging out at chess tournaments and like wasn't like I don't know what you might call a serious player. Like she would play, but she didn't like study that hard. She didn't have like many like great ambitions, but something clicked like, I don't know, maybe when she was in like 7th grade. And then she started to get real serious and started improving. And that was nice for me because we could actually study together on a level that made sense. Because when I'm 2200 and she's 1400, it didn't really work. But then when I'm 24.
Are you being elitist, Greg? Are you saying 2200s and 1400s can't work together?
Well, I mean, they can, just not in a like collaborative.
Yeah, sense. Yeah. I feel like it's a one-way kind of training session at that point. Wow, that's interesting. You were 2200 in 9th grade. You were.
Yes.
I think me too. 10th grade, maybe. I quit a few years as a teenager. I kind of did what you did.
It was I made my master title in the summer in between 9th and 10th grade.
I think I made my national master title between 10th and 11th grade.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, look at that. What's funny is I look back and it's just hilarious that being 2200 as a 15 or 16-year-old now is just absolute garbage. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's garbage.
Yes,
it's definitely something to be proud of. It's just like you're not like back then. I was like number 2 in the country. I know. I was like this. I mean, I was like I felt like I was a hot shot. You know, I would go to the tournament. I'd be on one of the top boards almost all the time if it was like a youth thing. And now it's like I would be number 10 maybe for my age. But I'm sure in today's game, I would also be stronger because I would have access to all the like a few extra things.
Yeah. It's fascinating to look at modern generation, old generation. You were 3-time national champion? Is that right?
What kind of national champion?
Scholastic. Didn't you win Scholastic?
I mean, I was a junior high co-champ in 9th grade. I was high school champ in 12th grade, and I won the U.S. Junior Open. I don't know if that's a national championship or not, but I'll give it to me.
Yes, I'll give it to you too.
Thank you.
Are all those people still playing chess?
Which people?
Or involved in chess in some way? Well, some of the people who were at those top ranks.
Sure. Like Dean Ippolito was like one of my main rivals. He does a lot of coaching in New Jersey. But Eugene Perelstein, he was a bit of a rival of mine. He played in the U.S. Junior Close with me, and he still does a lot of chess coaching and training. I'm sure there's a bunch more. I'm just naming two off the top of my head.
That you competed with against. How was it the chess culture of these tournaments growing up? Was it big? Was it small? Like, was chess always kind of a very small niche thing, kind of like those the early clips in the Queen's Gambit where there's 20, 30 people in a tournament? I remember my nationals was kind of a crazy time. Now the nationals are enormous. There's thousands of kids all over the country. It seems like every school tries to bring a bunch of kids and parents too. And how big was it?
Am I about 10 years older than you?
I'm 26.
Oh, damn, 15 years older.
Well, okay. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm actually 17, but 15. I just rounded.
Okay.
I mean, I think that it was fun. I really liked like the Scholastic tournaments and the energy there. When I was a kid, it was like really exciting. All these chess loving people, and like you're at a hotel, and it's just, I don't know. I'm sure it's different today. It is different, but I still felt like it was a pretty exciting time whenever I was at a chess tournament, especially a big one like the U.S. Open, World Open, Scholastic tournament.
Kind of felt like you could be a little bit of an adult, right? Because you could hang out with your friends and share hotel rooms.
Yeah, I mean, we would stay up late, especially once the tournament was over. We would have like an all-nighter, people playing bug house, stuff like that. And this is before like there was much internet chess, so it was kind of like you didn't get to do that so often, because the internet chess kind of took off when I was like a senior in high school or maybe a junior. So before that, it was like you didn't get to play with like a lot of young chess players that often. So it was super exciting.
And you got to meet your friends at these tournaments too, right? That was...
Yeah, totally. And I was lucky. I went to a chess school, so I had like a chess club to play at. Like Ben Johnson went to my school, another famous podcaster.
Yeah, more famous. Yeah, Ben and I have talked about similar neighborhoods of the city that we lived in at some point, which was just...
Oh, in New York?
Yeah, in New York. It's just fascinating. In fact, did you ever live together?
It's funny that I don't remember. Yes.
I think,
for like 2 months, because I was living in New York for like 8 years also.
Yeah, he was, I think this is the same, and rather than expose my previous addresses, I think that was the neighborhood in question. And I remember the first time he told me that. Oh, really?
Am I not supposed to mention the neighborhood?
I probably not, but I don't live there anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But just in general, anytime
I gotta stop the time travelers,
Yes, and also I just get that a lot. Like, yo, where do you live in New York? I'm like, I'm not telling you. If somebody asks you where you live in where you live, neighborhood wise, you probably wouldn't tell them unless you don't care.
I would. I mean, what are they gonna do with that information?
knocking on your door. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, it's a big neighborhood,
I guess it's true. Have you been recognized, by the way, at all in around your place? Or, I mean, you live in a pretty big city. Is there...
I mean, it's happened in my life. I'm sure it's happening more to you, but I mean, I've definitely been recognized in the street before. The best time was I was just walking around in Bilbao in Spain, and like nobody is in the street, and this guy just comes up to me and says, "Hey, I really like your YouTube videos." This is back when I like made videos and stuff. I was like, "What the?"
What'd you make videos about?
Oh, just chess. I would do like what people are doing today before people actually did it.
You were a pioneer. I've always kind of mentioned this, and there's a lot of OGs, even people who never really used cameras back in the day. It definitely feels It feels weird that only in the last 2 years the entire world kind of went, oh shit, yeah, chess is kind of like not bad. You know, it's not a
Yeah.
it's not a lame game. Have you made any friendships over just like casual chess playing? Like people find out, you play chess and you're actually quite good at it, and they're like, oh wow, I just Queen's Gambit and all this.
Friendships over that?
Friendships over.
Not lately. Not lately.
Not like is too much trivia. Is it?
Well, I mean, it's just not the way. I don't make friendships based on the chess these days too often.
How do you? Do you move away from chess?
How do I make friends? I mean,
yeah. Actually, I'm asking also
million different ways.
I'm asking more so also for myself. How do you make
Oh,
friends?
really?
As an adult? I'm asking for myself and for for general audience. How do you make? Let's say you do something a lot like chess, and you.
Well, the thing is, I don't really like chess. Is not the type of field where I want to make friendships. like chess. How do I explain this?
I get
I don't know. Like chess people, like they already know the chess people, right?
Yeah.
Like they all know who I am, and I know who they are, and I usually when I make friends, it's like totally. They don't even play chess, or maybe they're interested in it, but not. It's not like their main thing.
I see. What is the main source of interaction, connections, socializing over the last couple of years, like pandemic and so on? I mean, when everything shut down.
Well, one thing we did, I started this. I was part of this like online group, and we played these games of Mafia every week, and I made a lot of friendships from that. It was like a mix of chess players, poker players, like authors, just all kinds of people. And every week we would just play this game. It's kind of like some people are lying, some are telling the truth. You just have to figure out who it is. So that was really cool. Made a lot of connections from that.
I think I got invited to one.
Probably. We invited a lot of people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were on that list.
I don't remember who. It was very last minute, and I was very confused and also intimidated.
Oh, you know what it probably was? It was probably they did a few sample games in chess.com because one of the creators of the app is like heavily involved in chess.com. So they had some sponsored games on their YouTube channel.
Yes.
Or Twitch channel.
Yes, that sounds correct. I remember, I think it was Danny who DM'd me. He's like, yo, man, you got like a couple hours tonight? I was like, what is this? I don't know. Very intimidating.
That's how it started. We did that, and then we were like, this is super fun. Mm-hmm. Let's just like play this more often. And we just got a bunch of our friends in.
I should have joined, man. I should have joined. It's one thing I'm very bad at, actually.
So you're actually trying to make like new friends?
I'm almost 27. I'm 27 in a couple months, and I went to college for 4 years, and I don't have a single friend from college. And
I don't either. Well, I went for less than 4 years. So.
Well, I'll ask you about that. But I went, I went to Baruch. I mean, here in the city, and it was a commuter school experience. I would come to campus. I would take my classes. I would like basically go home. And yeah, sometimes I wonder. I have 4 or 5 close friends, and that's sort of it. I don't really know.
Does that feel like a problem to you? Are you ever like, wow, I wish I had someone new to hang out with right now?
No, I kind of feel that way about my wife. Like we're friends, so we just sort of it's just nice to kind of always have company. But it is kind of cool when either the two of you or one of you can, you meet people, and it kind of opens connections, opens doors. And it's sort of nice to have friendships where you could sort of be a brand new person. You don't necessarily, like, they don't know you from childhood, they don't know you from career, they don't know you from YouTube. And I have a little bit of both, obviously a blessing and a curse. The blessing being a lot of support, the curse being anyone who meets me in the street thinks I'm literally God, and it's
aren't you though?
Nah, it's like tough, it's like it's a little tough. So
it's tough being famous. So
well,
hard.
That's what I'm saying. It's
No, I know what you mean, because like when you meet a new person, there's already like some kind of like power imbalance, or something that's hard to define exactly. Like it's hard to have like a very, like, what's the word, authentic connection right away.
Yeah, exactly.
When they already kind of think they know all these things about you.
I actually look to you specifically for some sort of inspiration to be more social in terms of like other, when I observe chess players who have some sort of following, and I look at different lifestyles, you post whatever, and I kind of look at that you specifically. I'm like, man, one day I just want to get up and like go to like a workout gym or whatever. Just
a workout gym.
Yeah, just like be in a. I know you do. I know you do CrossFit specifically.
Sure.
But I think I would die if I did CrossFit. So I just kind of
You
like.
wouldn't. You 100% wouldn't.
No.
But I do. I would do any. I do other kind of workouts too. Like sometimes.
No, I just look at. I don't know. Look at you. I'm like, he knows. He knows what he wants. He likes to. He likes to do this and that. I'm like, I wish kind of more like that. Instead, I just sit in my house all day and just look around and.
Well, I do see your boxing.
Yeah, that was the thing. That is the thing.
Like, are you taking it serious? Are you like, do you have a coach or something?
Yeah, so the 30-second version is I thought I was gonna be the main event of the Ludwig chess boxing card. Actually, he messaged me and he said, "Would you do this?" I said, "Yeah." And then we were looking for an opponent. It didn't work out with Eric because he doesn't want to punch or get punched in the head as much as I kind of thought I wanted to. Like, I don't know if I want to. And for me, it was the same as for you. I would want to be paid. Like, if I'm going to sell out this arena and I can leverage with a big following and whatnot. It didn't make sense. I actually was offered to fight both Aman and Lawrence, and I turned it both down because it didn't excite me, and both of those matchups seemed mildly lopsided. Like,
yeah, you would whoop them.
Yeah, right. Obviously, but no. I mean, Aman's a much bigger dude than me, and fighting Lawrence, I don't know. I don't know Lawrence. I don't have any beef with Lawrence. I almost wanted you to sub in for Lawrence.
Why you want to punch me?
No. I'm saying no. You sub in for me in that in that fight.
Okay.
So I had those. I'm like, nah, let them do it. But I do go to the gym like 2-3 days a week. And I work one-on-one.
One thing about CrossFit, you see, you work on one-on-one. If you do CrossFit's like a very social thing, so you would actually start to know people if you did CrossFit in your classes. That's one way to get like some social connection. Another cool site, I don't know if there's something you'd be interested in at all, but it's a site called Couchsurfing, where you can kind of meet people who are traveling. Like, they don't have to stay on your couch or anything, but like you can meet like maybe somebody's traveling from, whatever, Colombia or something, and they're just on there and they just want to like meet a local person and just see the city and stuff. And then you can make these like really cool connections with people from far away. They don't know anything about you, but like you share kind of like 1 or 2 like exciting days where it's like they're super excited because they're traveling and they're getting to see this like new place from a local. I've made a lot of friendships and connections that way.
Oh, wow. Couchsurfing is completely legit. Yeah, it's not like
Totally.
I think they have to be, right? Otherwise, it would be some sort of.
What do you mean by legit?
No one's gonna hold you hostage or steal your stuff, or it's good.
I mean, they don't have to stay in your house. Like, you don't have to do it that way.
Oh, okay.
Like most people do it where like it's a place you can stay while you're in another city for free, and then you kind of like have this, person over, which I've done that before. But most of the time when I travel, I do it to like meet other travelers or other local people, or when other people travel to Philadelphia, every now and then I'll just show them around the city. And you can get close to somebody in a day. Sometimes close is a strong word, but like you build this connection, and then maybe when you're traveling somewhere else, you see them again, and it's super cool.
That is super cool. Do you travel a lot?
Oh yeah.
Really?
I mean, I'm home maybe like 6 months out of the year.
Oh, where are you otherwise?
I just go somewhere like it's about to get cold. Like January and February, I usually go somewhere warm, just because.
You want to stay with us if we move to Miami?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Miami is an option for me for that. Usually, I go to California.
Yeah.
So like, I've been going to Santa Monica, San Diego.
You just have friends there.
A girlfriend in Canada.
Oh, okay.
What's up?
I was gonna say.
Oh no, I just like it there. I do actually know people there, but it wasn't because I have friends. I just like the areas.
do you still do U.S. chess school?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was there one this year? I honestly don't know. So to anybody who doesn't know, U.S. chess school, and you would probably explain this better. It's is it like a fully funded, basically camp of like the most talented juniors in the States?
That is correct. You explained it
There
perfectly.
you go. Perfect.
Before the pandemic, we would have like 4 or 5 of those camps per year in different cities around the country. Then we kind of like didn't have one for 3 years due to the pandemic, and we just started again this summer. So we had one in New York. Alex Ostrovsky coached it actually, and then we had Jacob Agard coached one in California.
California. When are you going to Charlotte? Now, Charlotte seems like the chess capital of.
Yeah, here's the thing. Charlotte's doing amazing things.
Yeah,
they're really crushing it, and that's definitely something I consider. However, it helps when a lot of the kids are already near there. So like when you run a camp in New York, the kids don't have to travel.
Yeah.
When we ran one in like San Fran, like half the kids were just in the area. Charlotte, it's like a little tougher, and I would be totally interested in theory, but that might be a situation where in order to get a bunch of stronger kids, we have to like find a way to pay for their airfare and room and board and stuff. So, but I mean, I love what they're doing for chess in Charlotte.
Me too. They're seriously kicking ass. I think they're basically the number one for the young prodigies, young students, and I think St. Louis is kind of for the goats.
Oh yeah. How do you mean they're the number one for the young kids?
I think they have some of the biggest camps. They have some of the biggest programs.
They've had some really big ones.
Yeah. I don't know. A couple of it's been 3 years basically since I was heavily involved in being a chess educator, but also in the gossip, the who's doing what where, the what program is being, this kind of stuff. And when you're a full-time educator, you look for those opportunities. Like you want to be the person that runs the camp. You want to be it's a totally different grind than the online stuff. I was gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I should really look closer at having camps in Charlotte. Just with the pandemic, like things were so weird for so long that like everything got all confusing.
Yeah. I remember writing about this. It was so dystopian to me to force a 6-year-old to sit there with me at like 4 p.m. after a whole day of online classes. It's just so exhausted. Like these kids didn't want to do this. It's so different to learn on Zoom, and it was rough.
It sucks to coach somebody who doesn't want to be there. It's never a pleasant thing.
But the remote learning made it so much worse. It's just you're not in class. There's no pressure to behave. It was so weird, man. I mean, it was so weird. What'd you do in those early days when everything started shutting down?
How do you mean? What did I do?
March, April, May 2020, when you started realizing kind of this is it. Like we're gonna be here for a while.
I mean, I was able to do a lot of home workouts.
See, I feel like you spin everything into a productive, positive way.
Well, yeah, what we did, we ordered dumbbells like really early before it was impossible to get any. Yeah. So we got some dumbbells and we were doing workouts outside. So it didn't interfere with my workout routine, which was great. The only downside is I couldn't like lift heavy weight.
Yeah.
But it turned out I lost less strength than I would have guessed from like, I don't know. It took me like 3 months before I touched a barbell. We moved the U.S. chess school online. We got some funding. We got some sponsorship to do a lot of online classes. Kids were dying for it because they're all stuck at home with nothing to do. So we would have classes like 5 times a week, which was really great. I mean, we would get so many kids in these classes. And this is like not just random kids. These are like, you have to be invited. And they're like strong kids. And we would sometimes get like 80 kids. They're all like 2,000 plus.
I know.
So there was some cool things in the beginning of the pandemic in terms of, I don't know, there were certain things that happened that will like never happen again. Like something like these online classes we were holding. Like we still do them twice a week, but we only get maybe we get like 25 to 30 kids, which is not bad. But man, it was crazy at the beginning of that pandemic.
I know, it was. Yeah, you could really incentivize people to sign up for the online. But now everything is sort of back open and no one's afraid anymore. I remember having a serious anxiety, fear those first couple of months. Oh, going outside and just making sure everything is covered up. I remember the first week of March, I was giving a lesson and I was in one of those situations where the parent didn't inform me their kid was sick.
Oh, like in
But
person.
yeah, I just like showed up because it hadn't hit yet. We hadn't had our first
Sure,
case.
yeah, and that was like March 15th, right, or something around there.
Yeah, that was exactly when it sort of started. It was like March
Yeah.
4th or something. And I'm at this kid's house. He's blue. His whole face is blue, like snotting. And I'm like, this is so. And as I poured, for the first couple of weeks when it was still kind of going on, I went and I had a water bottle of rubbing alcohol, and I would make kids like decontaminate before we did a chess lesson. And I said,
Did you ever get COVID?
No.
Oh wow, nice.
No, I'm assuming you did, yeah, from that reaction, or
I got it once and it was like so mild. I was sick the one day, like, and I was like, oh my God, it's finally happened.
when'd you get it? Did you get it in 2020, 2021?
No, I got it after I was vaxxed twice already. I even got the booster by then. It was April 2022.
Uh-huh.
And I just had like kind of like 1 or 2 bad days and then I was like normal.
I don't think I've had it. Let's put it this way. I've been sick 1.5 times. Like 2021, I came back from Spice Cup, and I felt like I got hit by a bus. But I tested negative every time I tested. And this most recent time, I had a head cold maybe like a week ago. I thought maybe this was it. Just felt like really bad. Also negative.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I never got it. I know people who've gotten it, and even my mom, I think, had it. She was okay, knock on wood. My grandparents were very funny. So they, before the pandemic, I don't know if you have older relatives that like their lifestyle changed, but my grandparents would travel the world 2-3 times a year. They were very active. They drove around, they went hiking, and they started doing that again. But it really hit them hard, and I feel like they stayed home a lot. I feel like they consumed the news a lot, which will like poison your perception of.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was real bad, and it sort of isolated them. And now they're the complete opposite. So now they're like, we want to get sick, like we're not.
So they're traveling now.
Yeah, they're like, we don't even want to, we don't want the shit. Like we're gonna get natural immunity. Like let us get sick. It's like, all right, like but they spent so long just incubated, and so I'm happy for them. But it's so crazy. Like I used to drive from New York to see them to New Jersey, and we would stand at the yard's length.
Oh my gosh. So you would do the social distancing.
Yeah, that stuff was just so wild. We would only go to their basement. That like they would feed us in the basement. They wouldn't see us because they were so scared. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. Crazy time.
And yeah, we would get some soup and get back.
You know what I just realized is like insane?
Mm-hmm.
So like we're doing a chess podcast right now. We've gone, I don't know how long, we haven't even talked about the Hans Magnus stuff. Like I feel like that's a record.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Well, I was going to.
No, we don't have to.
Oh no. Well, we should. I feel like it's a rite of passage. But I was gonna ask you about U.S. Chess School because I'm sure you've taught Hans.
Oh yeah, many times. He's been to like probably about 5 camps. Something like that.
Because I was on the Lex Fridman podcast recently, and I gave him kind of the scoop, and I remember
that's the guy who blocked my sister.
Did he really?
On Twitter. He blocked her on Twitter because like I think the story was he listed like 10 or 20 books that were like great or whatever, and they were all written by male authors, and she just replied that, and he blocked her.
I see.
I could have the details wrong a little bit, but I remember that name from that. So sorry, go on. What was the story?
No, so that's really I didn't know that. Well, let's put it this way: if they put the two of them in a room, they would have a very civil conversation. It's just the way social media works. I think Lex gets his share of getting attacked from very, very vitriolic places, and so sometimes he might get fed up. And I didn't know that. Wow, there you go. Look at that. Well, the goal will now be to get her unblocked and to have them to.
I don't think she's worried about.
No, but it's just it's just good, like social media cleanse. And listen, well, I went to his show in Texas, and this was after he had like Magnus, he had the Botezes, and I didn't want to talk too much about the Magnus Hans thing, but I kind of told him like, yeah, I've known Hans since he was maybe 10, and he was always a character. Like he was, but obviously that doesn't. I'm just saying. Hans was always entertaining to have anywhere.
Entertaining is an interesting word.
All right.
In a classroom setting, sometimes entertaining isn't the word I would use.
Okay. Tell me your experiences. I mean,
I always thought he was cool. I'm just saying, like, every now and then he could be disruptive in a class when he was like 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
But you can always tell he had a lot of talent, and his type of, he was always kind of like, I'm sure some kids when he was young were like annoyed by him, but he was also like, it's kind of like good energy. Sometimes. I don't know how to explain it exactly. It didn't stop me from inviting him to camps in the future.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He was chaotic good, not chaotic evil.
Something like that, yeah.
Because there's kids, I've known kids who are chaotic evil. It just, their whole life mission is to like destroy the lives of their classmates and even their parents. I've known, and I've been that way also when I was younger. It's worse when you have split households, because that way it messes up, I think, a lot of how you grow up. But in my case in particular, but
is that what your situation was?
Yeah, I had my parents split when I was super young, so I think,
okay.
And I think when you combine that with being a chess player, it's a very individualistic activity, right? So it's you, and combined with the fact that you're sort of always mildly ignored, right? You're not sort of like this. You're not sort of the center of I don't want to say the household, because a kid isn't necessarily supposed to be the center of attention in the household, although in some cases you are. But you don't get all the focus. You don't sometimes get all the advice. You don't get all the positive, negative reinforcement. So you just sort of exist, especially if there's parents kind of starting own lives and whatnot. And so I think in my case, that was what likely contributed to me being. I was also probably chaotic.
You being what?
Chaotic. I would say probably more neutral than good or evil. But I have taught kids who are evil. It's not. It's tough. Like but I think in the case of Hans, yeah, I agree. I mean, I've known him since he was much younger. I played him also when he was like maybe 15 or 16 or something like that. He beat me once when he was maybe even 14. Wow, actually maybe even longer. Maybe it was like 13 or like 12, because he's 11. I mean, he's
just getting younger and younger.
Just getting younger, because he's 19, right? And I think I played him in 2014. Yeah. Oh my god, where did the time go? Oh, that's so, wow. Okay, well, anyway, I guess I lost to Hans when he was like 12 or 13 years old, which is kind of terrifying.
I mean, he was a good player. He's a decent player, you know.
Well, he still is.
Well, now he's better, yeah. Even then, he was capable.
Have you given your take on all of this?
I mean, sure. Sure. I mean, it's a tough situation, because I have like a lot of, like, I'm generally fond of Hans, but I know that not everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's important to discount that information, and that he could just be a cheater. Right? Like, there's a lot of people that I liked who turned out to be cheaters. It's happened before. It's happened to kids at my camp. It's sad. It's like, the kid's a good, like, generally a good kid, and it's just like, you just didn't. Why did you do that? You know. But he also might not be. So what part of the take do you want to know about it? Because there's so many layers to
unwrap it, like an onion.
I mean, things are changing all the time, right? Like my initial, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if evidence comes out that indicates he was cheating, but I more than he said he was. But like the point, I think, is that it's a pretty unclear situation. A lot of people don't know what's going on. A lot of people think there's a good chance he's innocent. There's a good chance he didn't cheat in the Sinkfield Cup, right? So like the main thing for me is I really felt like Magnus's behavior was not okay. even though it comes from a good place, from Magnus, I know it comes from a place where like he thinks cheating is just wrong in a like really visceral sense. Like and that's a good thing. We should have that kind of standard, but there also has to be some kind of like, what's the word, due process. And I feel like there wasn't quite in this case. And you could say like, without this kind of push, this drama, nobody would ever take it seriously, but it still concerns me that, you know, that he's using his power. How do I put this best? Like, let's say anyone other than Magnus decided to do that in the last tournament, like decide, I'm just not going to play this guy. That would not be okay. Probably the organizer of the tournament would be like, you can't do that. You can't just decide not to play somebody because you don't like them or you think they're cheating or something. And so like immediately that's putting Magnus in a position where he's able to do something that other people aren't without penalty, which I think is wrong. Like, I don't think you should be allowed to use your, in a competitive tournament like that, you shouldn't be allowed to, you shouldn't feel comfortable doing something that other people can't do just because of who you are. Number two, it could have severely harmed somebody who came in 9th place and didn't qualify for the knockouts because of it. So I didn't like what he did because I felt like it affected other people, and that's not okay to me.
For the record, you're talking about the resignation in one move.
Yeah,
not
the one move resignation. I mean, like, I understand why he did it, but like, he theoretically could be taking money out of somebody else's pocket, right? Like, I forget who Hans just happened to qualify anyway. But, you know, in the last day, he almost, if you took 3 points off of his score, like he would have been just on the cusp.
Yeah.
And then somebody like Christopher, I forget who the 8th seed was. Maybe it's like Christopher Yu or Aronian, actually, I think. To see somebody like not get in because Magnus decided to pull the stunt would have just really been unseemly. Honestly, in my opinion, Magnus should have, if that did happen, if somebody ended up like not making it because Magnus decided to protest and intentionally lose a game, I felt like Magnus would have had to, morally, he should have withdrawn himself in that case. So this is just like, I just felt like he's using his power in a way that like other people don't get to. And it's like, I don't think anyone else, I just don't like it. I just don't think you should be able to do that.
Yeah, I've sort of alluded to similar things. I haven't said anything that reinvents the wheel. I feel like a lot of people have said already very similar kind of opinions and about the situation. It's strange because could you imagine all of this going on behind the scenes? Like everything good publicly, but
you mean like they just keep playing and everything?
Yeah, like Singfield Cup goes on. I mean, nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
Just, nobody knows anything. There's just this whole thing just sort of keeps on moving, and it's definitely a weird, like, no, we can't really see that at all because I mean,
here's the thing though. Well, hold on. It could have easily happened. You know, the one thing that would have had to happen for that to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Hans doesn't beat Magnus. Hans just loses to Magnus. None of this would have happened. Maybe later, but you know Magnus is not going to withdraw if he wins that game against Hans. Like, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just going to immediately withdraw from the tournament. So, like, that's the thing that also bothers me. Like, there's like these inconsistencies. Like, by withdrawing when he loses to Hans, he's saying, I think you're cheating now. But nobody else really thinks he was cheating now. Maybe he was. But then he like uses all the past cheating as like his example. But like he wouldn't have done that if he won the game. Like we know that. Like so there's just it's just weird, and there's like a lot of like and kind of like fitting the narrative or fitting the story to like fit your narrative or something.
Yeah, the most fascinating thing about it is basically everything that people are trying to use to incriminate Hans previously. Mm-hmm. And the games that he's played completely fails in the game versus Magnus. So it's kind of like you apply some of the same methodology to that tournament and it doesn't add up It just none of it adds up, and it's super strange because let's say he has cheated in the past, both online and over the board, more than he has admitted to. But he's also a brilliant chess player.
He is good, you know.
And you know, and Magnus, it's not going to be the perfect kind of case and the perfect trial and the perfect everything. It's sort of, and this has also kind of boggled my mind. It's like, if he's found guilty ultimately, does it exonerate everything that Magnus has done up until this point?
No, I think it doesn't matter if he's guilty. Because first of all, Magnus does not know for sure that he's like cheating over the board. So like he's making this decision without like the full knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a weird one.
It's tough because again, I believe that cheating is a problem. I believe that Magnus, he has ethics that are decent, I think. But I do think he got them a little twisted in this case.
I rebooted. I will let the audience know that the internet crashed, and you came back with a hat. Why'd you put a hat on?
I don't know. You're just sitting right next to me, and I just threw it on. Can't really explain why I did it.
If we had lost all the footage, would you have recorded another episode with me?
Yes, but I might have like needed to wait a day or two.
Yeah, I feel like that we would have just been all talked out. But you seem like an extrovert. You seem to be all right. You seem to
in some situations, but I don't want to talk about the same exact thing I just talked about 20 minutes ago. So I feel like if I just take a rest for a day or two, we'll talk about different subjects and everything will be okay.
What do you have planned for the rest of the day?
I have no plans. Just
food?
Study all night.
Trivia.
I will eat food at some point. Yeah.
Greg, are you a cook or are you a takeout kind of guy?
Depends where I live. If I have a nice cooking area in my house, I will cook. Oh, I'm constantly moving around, so.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. I thought you have like a base and you took the time to chat today because you have a base and okay, I got you now. I got you. I got you. That makes sense. You ever gonna come back to classical chess?
Oh man, seems unlikely. Are we recording by the way right now?
Yeah, Jack.
Okay. I don't know, just making sure. Yeah, it's just kind of unpleasant classical chess.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, like I have fun playing speed chess. Super fun. Why do I need to play one game the time it would take me to play 20?
You know, you never felt
Restful.
You never felt existential dread that you're not a grandmaster?
Nah.
No?
No, not at all. Because I mean, chess is just one thing. First of all, I know I'm really good. Like compared to like most people, like they would love to be as good as me. Like 99% of people. So you know, I could always want to be better. But and you know, my rating is such that like it's decent. Like I'm higher rated than some grandmasters, you know.
Yeah.
I beat them in blitz sometimes, so I feel like I'm a decent chess player, you know.
I think so.
You're a decent chess player. We're all pretty decent.
I'm all right. Just you don't have to look at my FIDE. You look at my chess.com blitz. You're like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. That's the best thing about this whole chess boom. No one knows.
Just pick one rating.
Yeah, no one knows what a FIDE page is. Yeah, like they just look me up. Like, wow, he's 2,800. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm 2,800. Higher than 70% of GMs on chess.com or something. And
yeah, I'm sure.
No beads involved, you know. Just have you seen? There's now this wave of engineers and programmers creating vibrating tiny devices that can like relay chess moves.
It's silly because the whole thing was like a joke.
Yeah.
You know, and the media doesn't seem to realize that. They think it was an actual accusation.
I think they do know it was not an accusation, but I think
But it's not the way it's phrased in their articles.
But don't you think that's exactly why, right?
But it's like when you see this happen, you know that all news is totally bullshit. Like, because,
yeah,
like as long as you don't have knowledge of the subject,
yep.
Like whenever you know it's something about chess, it's always wrong. Like every single time. So like, why is it going to be right about finance or anything? Like probably just everything's nonsense.
Yeah, and political subjects always get people all riled up, but political views aside, and leaning one way or another aside, like I with this whole chess boom, and definitely over the last year or two with all this pandemic hysteria, I've really just stopped watching and listening to about 99% of any news, because it's just it's bloodlusting for, oh, someone got hit by somebody, there's some crime, oh, we gotta print that.
Yeah, and it's like we live in a world of 7 billion people. There's always going to be something terrible happening.
I think it's 8 now.
I think it's
8 billion people.
But you know, it's so easy to find like bad things all the time. It's just too many people and too many tragedies. By the way, one thing I love about your Twitter is how like anyone who has like these hateful views, you just shut them down. You're just like, I don't care if you're my fan, just go away.
Oh,
like, you know, like anti like LGBT people or like anti-abortion people. You just like, I like that you're aggressive against them.
Yeah, well, there's a
when they're, you know, when they behave a certain way.
I'm trying to explain it to you in a way that I haven't already explained it probably multiple times on the podcast, because I'm becoming my audience is calling me out for being Joe Rogan-esque. You know, Joe Rogan has this like he of course gets like canceled every week, but I mean he has
canceled, but still the #1 show.
Yeah, but I mean like he tells every guest of his to like eat elk meat and take DMT, and you know, it's just sort of this thing. So I have not even realized that sometimes I tell the exact story every single podcast. So I don't think I've brought this up, but I don't realize the extent to which I have grown as a creator, and I'm technically supposed to be at some level where I don't listen to the common folk. I just don't. I have a social media manager. I don't interact. Somebody posts my stuff, and I'm not supposed to interact with it because I'm like supposed to be above that. But at the end of the day, I'm a fucking person. And it's really hard to do that. Like it's so, I still feel like one-on-one interactions are all over the place in my mind. And whenever somebody writes something extremely disgusting, I just call them out on it, like as a human being. I don't know. I get thousands of positive messages every day, but as I'm sure you know as well, like somebody writes something horrible to you, you're like, I mean, not to get back to primitive times, but say it to my face. You gotta call someone out on their nonsense. So
I love negative. I love like criticism from like random people on the internet. Like it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because there's some that's not deranged. There's some that's could be legitimate, and you know, you could listen and go, okay, the person has a point. That's very rare.
Can you give me one example?
Yeah, I can, but it's not on any substantial issue. It's like on my boxing clips.
Oh, sure.
No, on issues of any sort of, you know, significance from a social standpoint, or no, definitely not. You know, you even this recent thing with Ilya Smirin.
Oh, that's how does this even happen? There's so many levels. Like, first of all, how does FIDE hire this guy? Second, how does he not know? Like, has he been living in a cave the last many years? Like, you just can't say these things. I feel like we covered that.
Yeah, I've been actually very thoroughly debating making a video on it because it'll get great views, but
yeah,
I almost don't want to sell out my soul to that extent of bringing such horrible comments into such a spotlight. And I also wield the role of, I might set 1,000 people on the guy somehow. And on top of all that, I would want to present what he said in a way where I appease people who want to get after him, but also speak my mind on the subject, right? It's like a very complicated mix of things. You know, it's kind of like with the Hans drama, I haven't made a video every single day because no one between Magnus and Hans has said anything. They're lawyering up. We're seeing what's going to chess.com hasn't said anything.
Mhm.
I've just sort of kind of let Hikaru do the daily updates. I feel on his YouTube channel, there's like, there's an article about this and there's something about that as well. And it does well. It does well. And even even the statistical stuff that people started posting in the game, like let's analyze this or whatever. I said, you know what? I'm not the lawyer. Okay. I'm not the prosecutor. I'm not the defendant. And I don't like that being my YouTube channel. I will present what people say and I will present what's going on. And if there's also chess games being played a day, like that's my role. But I wanted to talk about it, and I probably will, because I feel like people should know my opinion of the events, and it's important. And
of Smiran's comments.
Yeah, of Smiran's comments, his age, I think he's in his 50s or 60s. My grandparents are, in their 60s and 70s. Like, people that age, and especially for some reason, former Soviet Union folks, and they would never understand why the guy would lose his job over what he said. Like, they would just never.
I still would say that most people in that demographic are not going to say and think the things he said.
I don't know, honestly. I don't know a lot of people that age.
I mean, some will. I actually feel like let me ask, I'm curious if you agree. I feel like the chess world is actually, like, especially on Twitter, is like pretty progressive and like more feminist than other fields, like much more than poker, for example.
Yeah, I do see a lot more, I don't know how to describe it, very openly not progressive, anti-woke, poker people popping on poker people on my timeline.
Poker, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have a whole lot of that. Generally, it seems like we don't have a lot of large audience people like that in the world of chess. We have trolls. We have people with 5 followers. We have people who spread hate in the world of chess, but it does generally seem like on a world like Twitter and social media, we are pretty progressive. Yeah. In our policies, we're probably far progressive. Is this what it feels like?
How do you mean?
It feels like we say that as a global enterprise, chess is moving forward and being more progressive, but it's not the case.
Well, do you mean FIDE?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
probably.
But they're one entity. Like, I feel like outside of them, there's some progress being made.
Yeah, it feels like individual tournaments are doing maybe some roles. It's tough. It's a tough situation. I said this on stream the last time that I streamed. I've been around classrooms where kids of ages 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Like, I've seen how young girls, young boys, like, all learn in certain environments, and I've been around chess classrooms, and I have my opinions of chess education, right? But I think and we will never get to this point, but if you took a sample size of an equivalent amount of boys and girls from a young age, an equivalent amount, a large sample size, not 10-1, like some ratios of programs, and there was a equivalent exposure support system to the game, and so on and so forth, some would drop off naturally, like anywhere else. I legitimately think they could play on 100% equal terms throughout adulthood and potentially contend for whatever, the ultimate crown. But that's not the way the world works.
Yeah.
It starts when you're 2. Like, everything starts from when you're 2 to when you're 4, 5, 6. Every year, like, you're pulled more and more into kind of the constructs that are made for the gender that you have, and it only gets worse. And I mean, boys and girls do not have to deal with the same things at chess tournaments, and as teenagers and as adults, and it's no shock, in my opinion, that from a young age, there's not as many boys playing. Not as many girls playing as boys, and naturally, as that progresses, like, you have chess tournaments that are just 1,000 male players and 2 female players. Like,
no, I mean, it's getting a lot better.
Yes,
the 2. Like, when I was a kid, there's so many more girls playing and women playing than there was when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely been some progress, but yeah, of course, there's still a lot of issues. And one I see a lot on social media is the type of criticism women get for like expressing opinions is so much more vicious than the type that I would get for expressing like the similar opinion. Like I see
Mm-hmm.
the things people say to my sister, I see the things they say to me, and it's just like night and day how nasty they are to
Mm-hmm.
her. And you know that it's because like she says the same things as me pretty much in a lot of these cases.
Yep.
It's because she's a woman. And that's like that must weigh on you, right? Like you just get nastiness just thrown your way constantly. Like you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I know. And it starts starts early. I talked about teaching some students that were evil. There are far more evil boys. Like even from a young age. It's just I don't know. I hate to say it's the way kids are. It's what I've observed. But you can have one girl in a classroom of 12 boys and she won't want to come back because there's just one emotional terrorist.
Well,
And
sometimes they will want to come back, but yeah, I in some cases
yeah, I'm speaking specifically from the
Sure.
experience of watching students show up and 2 classes later they want to leave and they don't return. You
Yeah.
try to get them, and there's obviously an entire separate thing of having all girls tournaments or women's titles, and it's like I would love to get to a world where we don't need that and it's just open and it's and everyone is treated with respect, particularly the female players. But am I in shock that it exists? No. Would I love everybody to shoot for the same level, given that they had kind of the same prerequisites of getting there? Maybe. It's hard because it's the only thing I've known my whole life. But sure, I think, right? But I don't know. I don't know who is supposed to make that decision. I know that sometimes if you put 8 or 9 young girls in a classroom, it's just them. They learn much better than if it was 1 to 12 in a different sort of setting with a bunch of like, rowdy young second and third grade boys. There's so many factors. It's just
and one thing is everyone's not the same, right?
Yeah.
Like that may be true in some sense, but there are also going to be some girls who fit totally well into a group of like a bunch of rambunctious boys, some, you know what I mean? So like you got to be careful to, I don't know, not assume that they're all going to be the same and want the same environment.
No, I know. I'm just sharing. Like I've watched, I've watched everything. I've watched kids who don't care. They don't care. They play girls, boys. I've watched kids who, like, if they're a boy, there's none of this nonsense. Oh, you lost to a girl. Like what? How could you lose to a girl? Like there's none of that. And I've also watched girls who don't care if they're playing boys or girls. Like there's no, but there's so much other little things that contribute to this whole issue. And if we could
one thing we did at the US chess school, so like we've had some all girls camps. Our typical camp will be like, let's say we have 12 kids, it'll be like 9 boys, 3 girls, because we try to make sure that we are supporting women in chess. But one camp I did right before the pandemic was I wanted to actually intentionally invite an equal number of boys and girls, which we'd never done before. It was going to be like exactly split. I think it was like 7 and 7 or 8 and 8, and it was it was a really nice camp because you don't see that very often at higher chess levels.
Yeah,
where it's like actually equal. But like we just kind of like invited a few older, like we just like up the age range for the girls, I guess, a little bit, because there are numbers wise, there's more boys playing.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of girls out there who are really strong. And I feel like I want to do more camps like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm sure from a learning experience is good. I mean, I would love if tomorrow we could wake up and top 10 of the world would have male and female players, all 2750, and we could all stop killing each other on social media. But it's gonna take time. I hate to say that it's gonna take a lot of time. It's gonna take a lot of time, and we have to stop saying things like "she plays like a man."
Do we still say that?
That's what Smirin said.
Oh, but he's okay.
I know. I'm just saying.
He got fired. He did get fired the next day, so that's a good sign, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you say these things, you're going.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it would have been like that 10 years ago.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe he would have stuck around until the end of the broadcast. It was so weird when I saw that. I just kind of was like, why there? Like, why did he know what tournament he was commentating on?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anyway, for anyone confused, comments on the round 9, I think, broadcast of the FIDE Women's Grand Prix to determine ultimately who will be a contender for the World Championship match on the women's side. And people, anytime I post a clip to my clips channel on YouTube, just talking about women in chess, it has like 4 to 5 times the amount of comments of any other clips. Mm-hmm. And the dislike rate is always like 2 to 3% lower. Like it gets a bit like, 100 more dislikes than it. I just feel like it's a subject that really brings just the absolute worst out in humans. And I don't know, I think the loudest folks with the most vicious opinions are the ones that express what they feel the most. Everybody else kind of like, I agree. And they just move on.
That's how it is for most subjects, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, probably. That would it's a tough subject. How did we even get to this particular thing? I think we were talking about.
You somehow brought up Smear, and then I was like, oh yeah. There's so much happening in chess.
I know.
I almost forgot about that thing.
I know.
But honestly, it's like it should just be. It was handled decently. I mean, he probably shouldn't have got the job to begin with. You should probably know that about him. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are good commentators, right? Somehow he got that position. Yeah. Mystery how, but at least they immediately rectified it. And FIDE, like, they have some weird history with, their behavior towards women. But in this case, I think they did okay.
Yeah, I think it was handled quite well. I almost feel like when you have situations that are handled this well, people are still mad. When someone agrees with you in an argument, you're like, "What? No, I wanted to argue more. Like I wanted."
Yeah.
It seemed like it was. That's one of the reasons I haven't really posted anything about it. I get that a lot. Like I always get, "Oh, you haven't posted about this issue. You don't respect it. You don't." Mm-hmm. It's a weird spot. I don't necessarily want to be the guy that's like, "Oh, this guy's some sexist stuff," and we gotta. It's like, no, I don't think that deserves the spotlight necessarily. It's not such a good thing. It's not gonna make many people happy. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, but it's I guess it's important to recognize that it's still out there. People still think that way. I mean, if he thinks it and says it on air, think about how many people are sitting at home thinking similar things. And most of them are like much weaker than the women in question. Like much like it could give knight odds to them usually.
Maybe queen odds.
Queen odds.
Yeah, it's true. It's bad when it's guys at the top. It's also hilarious. It's not bad. It's not necessarily bad. It's bad, but it's hilarious when it's, why are they playing a separate event? Like you're 800. I'm not trying to, not trying to gatekeep any 800s, but you're 800s and sexist. You're 800. Shut up.
I mean, I don't think it's sexist to think that to question why there's a separate event. Like I understand why people might ask that.
Yes. I know. I'm not them specifically, but
sure.
You get a whole lot worse.
Some people turn it into a sexist thing with ignoring any like logical reasons for why they exist.
You play chess on stream against someone who's very clearly a woman. The chat just goes completely it's absurd. Like you cannot lose to a female player on a Twitch stream. Your chat will just consume itself. It's
that's not good.
Yeah, it's and then there's an extension of all that. Like it's a.
When that happens, do you like talk to them about it?
Of course, but it's the weird thing about
hopeless. There's just nothing to do with these people.
The problem with the internet is it's people saying shit they don't even believe. That's the problem. Is that the reality is, if you have some crazy ass views, you probably aren't sharing them. Some of them are, but most of it is people just instigating. That's that's really the problem, is that anytime my chat gets even remotely political, you got people who have written 12 months of normal comments writing God knows what, and it's like just behaving crazy just to anger other people, because that's what anonymity does. We've all been there. I've played Call of Duty, you're on the voice chat with some lunatic from across the world. Your friend is playing, you have their headset on. Of course you're going to say God knows what. It doesn't mean anything to you, right? So that's the same on Twitch. The problem is that now people say heinous shit to each other all the time, and it's I mean, my younger brother, any teenagers? My younger brother is like 15. I'm worried about him, like I don't know if you have cousins. I don't think there's a younger Shahade sibling who is secretly like 15 or 16 years old, but I don't know if you have any relatives that like you have to be a good role model for, Greg, but it's crazy out there.
I mean, you gotta be a good role model for everyone.
That's true. That's
because I mean, I'm sure like some of the things you've said have affected people. You just don't know it, but like probably you've opened people's minds to different ways of seeing things out there.
I would hope.
So you should be very proud.
Or I taught them how to play the London.
That too. You should feel terrible about that.
Oh, what's your vendetta? Scandinavian?
Scandinavian.
But you played it against me, I think.
Well, listen.
What about do you like the Portuguese gambit?
Nah.
No?
No, I just played like the boring way. I played it against you because there's a very specific line that you played that I determined. Like you just kind of played the same thing every time, and I came up with some ideas against it. And I think one game I got a overwhelming position just following my prep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but the Scandi hate, it came from my war with John Bartholomew for the most part.
Is that another potential chess boxing match, or is it just the one with Lawrence Trent?
I feel like John's kind of like retired, right? He's gone.
I don't know. Can message him.
I mean, I think he won the match with me. He won that tournament, and then he was like, it's time to hang it up, because he knows if he ever came back, it would not be the same.
Yeah, he went out on a high note.
Yeah, I think that was his plan. It makes sense.
John is John, you guys are like the old guard of respected IMs. You got some old, you got some young weak 2350 rated IMs all over. You guys are like high 2400, respected in the GM
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I haven't played in a bit. I feel like if I did just like start entering tournaments, my rating, it might go down. These kids, they're killers.
No, go to Europe.
Go to Europe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Europe is like a joke for chess.
Oh.
Just one game a day, sit on the beach, prep some Grunfeld. Dude, I feel like Europe theory is like 3 years behind the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like
But I feel like you're always playing at the New York, like the Marshall.
That's why I'm getting my ass kicked all the time against all these kids. It's horrible. I've played like lost so many rating points to 11 and 12-year-olds over the last year and a half.
Yeah, they come in with like 2100 ratings, and they're like
21, 23. It doesn't matter.
And then their US ratings like 2400.
Yep. I mean, I lost to Tani, right? Like I was slightly better the whole game. He just defended really well, played super fast, found an immediate winning tactic in 2 seconds. It's just you can't beat these kids. Like there's just no.
I mean, you can beat them. It's just hard to gain rating points against them because you have to beat them every game.
Yeah, you also
have to beat them like so many times.
Yeah. So
Tani's strong though.
Yeah, he is. He's very good.
Seems very talented when he was like 10, and now he's probably like 12. Did he get a GM norm?
No. I think he has 2 IM norms.
Okay, that's good.
And he can only get his 3rd one in a Swiss.
I'm sure he'll manage.
Yeah, but FIDE implemented this thing where you can no longer. Which, by the way, I feel like was only implemented because Jan complained. Remember? So it's like FIDE only does things when one GM complains.
Who was that with
Mishra?
Abhimanyu getting his.
Yeah, it was like Jan kind of was like, oh, he beating luminaries or whatever it was called, and then all of a sudden they put this thing where you have to play a Swiss, which is
it makes sense though.
It does, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't have any GM norms. That's very hard, but I've been close a couple times. I mean, yeah, GM norms are super difficult, and I truly in my heart of hearts believe if I did nothing else except 8 hours of chess every day, I could do it. But then I would
100% for sure.
I don't know. I hate that. Like, you need to get completely obsessed and actually love, right, training. Like what you're doing right now with trivia, with chess, it's the same thing.
So much fun. Yeah, that's the thing, and I don't love training chess as much. And also, it's like, it's hard, man. Even if I did train like all the time, there's just at this point, there's probably a cap to how strong I can be. Maybe I could be world champion, you think?
I mean, beads or no beads?
Maybe you and me, if we're gonna spend the next 10 years studying, and we'll play in the championship.
Oh, Magnus will get old. Who's going to be world champion in 10 years? We can end the podcast on that prediction. Who's going to be world champion?
Magnus isn't even world champion now. So.
Well, this is the thing. Is he or is he not?
I guess technically he is until the match happens, right?
It happens or the first move is made?
I guess till it's over.
It's over, right?
Yeah. I mean, it can't be nobody's the world champion.
Why not? Chaos. You think Magnus would win the next candidates?
He'd be a favorite for sure.
Be interesting, right?
I mean, but the thing about those tournaments is it's just one round robin, so like you could easily lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
and
if you're the best.
The level is lower, right? That's always the thing about those. That's always the thing about the candidates. It feels like the level is lower. It's much more high strung. The nerves are super high. I mean, Kramnik said that these guys played like 2300s.
I don't know. I don't know if it's really true. I mean, maybe this year it was like a little funky. But people like to say that because they're like more eyes are on it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, well, Greg, this was a lot of fun.
Super fun.
And thank you for surviving a computer crash with me. That was terrifying. It's never happened before in the history of this podcast. We have one mutual close friend, so I felt actually kind of bad because I haven't reached out to you sooner to record something. So I hope you can forgive me.
Oh, I think it's okay.
You think it's okay, or it is okay?
It's okay.
Okay. You think it's okay? Okay.
I appreciate being asked to be on the show.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to chat. I feel like you are tremendously respected by those of you those of the fans that get to know you after the chess boom, and obviously as a OG of the chess space and everything within it. So thanks for all you do, and all the best with couch surfing and traveling and trivia and not coming back to the world of chess. Hopefully,
CrossFit. Don't forget CrossFit.
Did I say? I thought I said CrossFit. No. CrossFit.
That one's important too.
Yes, I know.
I'm beating Lawrence.
Yes, beating Lawrence. Why do CrossFitters get such a bad reputation? Because they're annoying? Yeah, they have a very bad reputation for just being like annoying. I think it's like vegans, same thing. Like, reputation.
I don't know. It's a shame though, because like CrossFit's probably nothing like what you think it is. Like you in your head, you're like, I couldn't do CrossFit. First of all, you 100% could. You just walk in, and if you're at a good gym, there'll be a coach who will just give you something to do that makes sense for where you're at. CrossFit is very like scalable, if you know what that means. Like they're not going to ask you to do something you can't physically do. You build up to that. Sometimes it takes a year or two, but eventually your body changes, your whole life changes, and you have fun and meet people in the process. I don't know why it has that rep.
I don't think it's because I don't think you're being a jerk to people because you do CrossFit and they don't. So,
But I do feel bad because a lot of people think like it's not for them without even knowing what it is or ever tried it, because they kind of see some stuff on the internet or something, it's not like when I go to a CrossFit gym, like, okay, I'm like in pretty decent shape, but like the majority of the class is just people who just like want to work out. They're not like these diehard like athletic psychos who are like lifting 500 pounds. Like the large majority of a class is not like that. It's just like regular people just who enjoy that as a type of fitness.
Well, you may have inspired me to go try. I've tried boxing. Maybe I'll try CrossFit next.
Yeah, you should.
I think what I like the most is, I think, one-on-one. I'm not a huge fan of groups, but we'll see.
The other cool thing about CrossFit too, by the way, that is very rare in the fitness community is it's close to 50-50, like male female participation as you could get. It's probably like 60-40, but it's like quite balanced. And the people at the top, like the people at CrossFit headquarters, take the competition for both genders very, very seriously. Prize money is even, the coverage is even, everything is pretty equal, which is pretty cool and kind of rare in other fitness activities.
So for single listeners to the podcast, it seems like it's a good way to go meet people, and also and taken ones, but just for the listeners who may.
Sure.
It should not be their goal to go to those gyms with those intentions, but
no.
Then sounds like a fun time. And maybe we'll do a couples class with Lucy. So the only CrossFit exercise I've ever done in my life is burpees.
Yeah, you're a big fan?
Big fan. I did it like 8 years ago, but someone was showing me in a hotel gym, and it's crazy workout.
Do you like working out?
Yeah.
You had some injury. I know you said we were done, but we're still talking.
I know it happens.
But you had some injuries, right? With deadlifts or?
No, not deadlifts. I herniated my disc when I was like 16. Yeah, I have a really bad lower back disc.
And it's been recurring? Because I remember you tweeted some things about it.
I was mid squat in like 2019, and I really fucked up my back, and I like had to be horizontal for weeks, which is really depressing when you're 23.
So it happened even more recently. I remember you made a tweet. Maybe you were scared, and then it wasn't as bad as it seems.
Yeah. Actually, last year in like July, I re-injured my back moving side to side. I was playing against Alex actually in basketball, and I moved side to side in basketball, and I just felt it slip out. And but since then I've like strengthened it a lot. I've done a lot of different exercises for the lower back. And
what kind of stuff do you do with your trainer?
I work out alone, but I
thought for some reason I thought you said you're like a one-on-one.
I do one-on-one, but for boxing, I mean, I just go to the gym and I just do things that improve my lower back. So the exercise where you kind of like lift up your, I mean, just normal things. Yeah, I like the feeling of getting stronger and awkwardly staring at yourself in the mirror and tracking the growth of your muscles and asking, asking your wife if your muscles got bigger, and she's like, shut up, you've asked me 30 times already. Yeah, it's fun. I like it. I like boxing, for example. I think I can be an obsessive learner with things that I take a liking to. So I don't know if CrossFit would end up being that, or climbing, or I don't know, something.
Climbing is great too, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of mini climbing studios in New York that I've always wanted to go to. I feel like it's just like, it exists, and you want to go, and then suddenly a year goes by and you haven't gone, and you're like, I should go, and then 6 more months go by. It's just about doing it once, and then once you do it once, you put some pressure.
I did not think I was going to get into CrossFit. It was like I just knew I wasn't working out. I knew I had to try something. I tried a bunch of things first, and it didn't work at all. I was just like, couldn't motivate myself to go. And CrossFit was the one thing that actually worked for me. But I mean, it's different for other people. Sometimes it's rock climbing, sometimes it's yoga, Orange Theory, boxing, MMA.
Oh, that's so bad. I mean, boxing, MMA, all this. I'm saying it's so good, but it kills you, like cardio wise, which I'm sure CrossFit does too. I feel like if people made it an hour and a half into this whole thing, like they're gonna be inspired after this to go and get a workout in, or.
I love talking about fitness and working out. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, I've been trying to get more people into boxing. Like
I don't know anything about boxing.
I will.
But I would still knock out Lawrence. I just have to train. I train like a few weeks, maybe.
Few weeks?
It's
funny. I saw training footage of him, and I was like, oh, he's actually kind of sharp. And I brought it up with my gym guys, because they knew I showed up the very first day, told them about chess boxing and how long it would take me to run, get to a normal level. And the guy said, yeah, I watched this training video. Like, you're much better than him. I was like, really? Like, I don't think I'm much better than him. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I could kick his ass.
I mean, he seems like decent.
Right, but he was like, oh, you're like much better. I'm like, You just hyping me up, bro? Like, for real? Because he looks like he knows what he's doing. I feel like when I'm doing it, I don't even know what I'm doing. But it's like you show up one day and all of a sudden you're better. It's like chess, too. I don't know if it's the same as... But sometimes in chess, you sit down, suddenly it's clicking. And you don't know. You don't know why. God telling you that, you should stick with it. It's been a while. I might upload another clip to Twitter to get psychoanalyzed by Twitter movement specialists and boxing
they
shoes.
love to do that.
Yeah, because I don't have boxing shoes. I have slippers. I'm wearing my Adidas slippers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they were like, "What are you boxing in, bro? You got to get these boxing shoes, bro." I was like, bro, leave me alone.
Yeah, I don't like that behavior when people kind of give unprompted tips and stuff like that. I find it very annoying.
I'm kind of an asshole and guess the elo and stuff, so people kind of use that against me, right? Like I'm sarcastic, so they're like, "Oh, he's not good at something. Oh yeah, now is my time to shine," But I take it as it goes. I've never read something that someone wrote to me online and been like super upset by it. It's just is what it is.
But I feel like if you don't ask for it, like because you could have easily say, "Hey, if anyone sees something that they would." If anyone has any advice, leave a comment. But you don't do that. You're just showing yourself boxing. It's like suddenly you got all these people just.
I'll do it today.
Woodwork.
How about that?
That makes everyone better. Then if you do that, then I think everyone's totally justified to just kind of give all like kinds of unprompted advice.
I'll do it. I'll be like, all right, Twitter boxing coaches, hit me.
Cool.
That's what I'll do. Greg, I have nothing in the queue, so I will post this episode right after I get a nice thumbnail. And I really appreciate the time today, man.
Well, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.